Hello, and welcome to part 1 of Wonderful Games MGSV The Phantom Pain. The first part is going to be a review for the game and will be spoiler free, so don't worry about that. And the second part will cover some of my thoughts on the game that will require me to spoil some things. But for now, just my review. So thanks to this game, I now know what it's like to have a crippling drug addiction. I played 87 hours of this game and it's been a roller coaster of emotions. Extreme highs, into extreme lows, then back to high, and then at about 60 hours another low. But then the high never came back. The low wouldn't leave. No matter how many side ops or subsistence missions I did, the empty hole couldn't be filled. The game hinted that my situation would improve with the purchase of MB coins, but I knew that wouldn't help. I just kept playing and hoping that it would change, go back to how they were. But it wouldn't, and I know it won't, but I carry on. And this may all sound dramatic and negative, but you'd be wrong. Not about the dramatic thing, that's right, but about me being negative. I think this game is great, and the feeling of loss I've been left with at the end makes me respect this game even more. Yes, I can now only sleep with a tear-soaked pillow while listening to Quiet's theme, but this game is great. So this review is more of a therapy session for me as I get out all my repressed feelings about this game. Now, I don't think this game is perfect, or a 10 out of 10. I also don't think this game will affect people the same way it affected me. I'm a strange dude. But I do think this game is worth playing. It isn't my favourite Metal Gear game, that's still MGS3, but it has beaten Peace Walker, which was next on my list. But I think that's just because this is Peace Walker 2, which is fine by me. I do think this game has problems, some I can't talk about in this video, so I come back for part 2 to hear that. But there are problems like the microtransactions and some of the later game story pacing is definitely not great, but we will get to that. So do I think this game would be hard to enjoy if you've never played a Metal Gear game before? Yes, it's going to be hard to jump into the middle of any story with no context, especially a Metal Gear game that has a strange enough plot to begin with. But I will say this would probably be the easiest of the series to play if you haven't touched the others. This is thanks to the tapes, which were a carryover from Peace Walker. Thanks to these, the story isn't forced upon you like it was in other games. I've heard that people aren't fond of this change, saying that it doesn't feel like a Metal Gear game because of the lack of really long cutscenes and codex calls. But all the stuff that was in the old games, like the codex calls and strange character stuff, is still there, but now it's just optional. Which means if you're a long-time Metal Gear fan, you have hours of conversations to listen to between characters. But if you're new to the series, you can just enjoy the gameplay and not get bogged down with side story stuff you just might not understand. Some cassettes that are also plot important are highlighted so you can enjoy the story while playing the game and not worry. This improves repeat playthroughs of missions because you can just play. I will admit I do miss codex calls a bit, but then I think back to MGS2 and the codex calls with Emma and I realise how annoying they were and I understand that tapes are a definite improvement. But overall the story is fine for the first half of the game, but the second half has some big emotional moments that you expect from a Metal Gear game. It's strange, the first half answers very little of the things you want to know. The conclusion to Skullface is fine, and yeah, it's just fine. But when I finished the first half, I had reached about 60 hours. And then the game just throws shit at you to break you down and throws you into an unending well of despair as characters just... Fuck. Okay, I'm fine. God, just... Give me 2 secs. But yeah, the second half does improve, and it helps fill in the holes in the overall Metal Gear story. This doesn't mean the first half is bad, it's just fine. It carries on stuff from Ground Zeroes nicely and does some interesting stuff, and I just think in a few years I'll remember the second half way more than the first. Story isn't perfect though, as I said, the pacing towards the end is strange, which could have been helped if some cassettes were given to you earlier. Also, some characters in cutscenes talk about key plot points, like you should know what they're talking about, even though these details have never actually been confirmed up till then. Maybe I just missed something, I'm not sure. Also, the final mission just kind of appears without any context as to why it's happening. It feels like a mission is missing, which there is. A mission was planned that even had some cutscenes complete, but it was cut, you can find it online. I don't know why, but it does feel like when it was decided it would be removed, it was too late to add anything to replace it. It doesn't make the ending bad, just like the context for the end's existence is missing. But the story isn't the only part of this game, there's the actual gameplay, which is great, like really great. I don't have any complaints about it. If you have played Ground Zeroes, you pretty much know what it's like, and if you played older Metal Gear games, it's a massive improved version of their gameplay. Everything is refined and perfected and allows players to complete objectives any way you want. You can go full stealth or go into a mission guns blazing. As for myself, I usually went for the stealth approach, but when I fucked up, I didn't always feel like I needed a restart, because unlike old Metal Gear games, going into alert mode doesn't mean you just have to hide for a couple of minutes. The shooting and CQC controls are good enough as to where you feel like you have a chance to fight back, which makes sense seeing as you're playing a legendary soldier. Unlike the older games, you aren't punished for playing aggressively. The ranking system is a bit more lenient, allowing for more than just stealth. But if you want S ranks, you usually need to actually use stealth. But you can still get A's and B's if you want to play another way, which means players aren't always going to feel like they suck for wanting to use some of the many guns you can get throughout the game. Another important part of the game is the buddies. At first I was against the idea of having someone or something following me around. I hate companions in most games I play. But this game uses the Last of Us system for its buddies. While you're stealthing about, enemies won't notice them. But if you send them to do something or start a fight, the enemies will interact with them, which means the buddies are never a hindrance, fucking things up for you. They are only a positive. I can only really talk about D-Horse and D-Dog and Quiet. The only time I used D-Walker was in the mission I got him, and I never used him. I'm calling it a him, but it's a robot and I don't know its gender. He always seemed like he wouldn't match my playstyle. A big robot didn't seem that useful for stealth. He does other things that would allow him to be stealthy, but I pretty much just stuck with Quiet from the moment I got her. She's fucking badass, but I'll talk more about why I like her in part 2. The buddy system works great, and I really did grow attached with some of them characters. I should also talk about the environment. There are 3. Mother Base, which we'll get to in a bit, but the 2 main areas you'll spend most of your time is Afghanistan and Africa. Obviously not the whole country, but pretty big areas of both. These locations are filled with outpost towns and bases for you to infiltrate. Which during missions you're limited to an area, a big area, but most missions confine you to 2 or 3 towns, which you'll need to go to throughout the mission, and you can approach them any way you want. But most of the time will be spent outside of missions doing side ops. As a crazy person, I couldn't physically carry on with the story until I'd done all the side ops open to me. This meant by the time a mission asked me to go to an area, I already knew my way around. Metal Gear really works in an open world. Probably one of the most important parts of the game though is Mother Base. If you played Peace Walker, you know how it works. You upgrade it, add in new functions like R&D and medical, you take enemy soldiers you encounter during gameplay by faulting in them, and putting them to work. The more it improves, the more items you unlock, and these could be weapons or abilities to use during gameplay. You can also send out your soldiers on their own missions, earning more GMP, money, to spend on things you want. It's pretty much the same as it was in Peace Walker, but now you can actually go to Mother Base. You could just manage the whole thing from a menu and only go there when you have to for plot reasons. The only reason they go there physically is to do some side ops, increase soldier morale so they work better, and to get some unique cutscenes. I'm a little bit disappointed in Mother Base. I do enjoy going back there and watching it grow and hearing conversations, but I wish there was more happening. In Peace Walker there were tapes that talked about events that happened on Mother Base, like football games, fishing, birthday parties, stuff that made Mother Base feel important. Like there are really people living there and the boss's goal of creating his own country was something that was working. And I wish this stuff happened in this game. It sometimes can just feel like a factory with soldiers complaining about lack of space. I think with a few events you could stumble across, or just give the boss and some of the main characters a living space to make it feel like a place people live in. But my biggest problem with Mother Base is that it feels hindered because of FOBs. If you don't know, FOB is the multiplayer part of the game. After playing the game for a while, it felt like Mother Base was slowing down. Struts were leveling up slower and I was running out of space. Then the game opens FOB, which is essentially another Mother Base in a different location and works the same way, but struts take longer to be built and seem to cost more. The FOB can also be infiltrated by other players, and you can do the same to them. The best comparison is invading in Dark Souls, but it's not great. Now the idea is okay, and infiltrating someone is fine. You load in, and if you get through it without being caught, you can steal men and their resources. But when you're on the other side of this, you can just turn on your game and be informed that your resources and some of your best soldiers have been taken without your knowledge. Or even worse, you could be playing and told you're being infiltrated. Now 2 things can happen. 1, the servers fuck up and don't let you defend yourself, which means you just have to sit and wait to be told if you lost a bunch of shit. or you are allowed to defend, in which case you have to exit the mission you're doing and sit through a loading screen, and then if you win or lose, sit for another loading screen to try and carry on the mission you were doing. The loading in this game isn't bad, depending on how shit the servers are being, but it's like the whole system is bad for the person being infiltrated. The reasons invasions work in Dark Souls is because it doesn't take anything away from the victim if they win, and it happens during gameplay. But in MGS5, you might as well just let it happen if you're doing a mission. And if it happens while you're not doing a mission, you still have to go out of your way to stop something you didn't want to participate in the first place. Another strange thing, when you create items, level up Mother Base or send soldiers out on dispatch mission, it takes real time to complete them. At first this could be minutes, and by the end of the game it can take hours. Which is okay for most things, but the deployment missions where you send out soldiers can be failed. So you can wait 3 hours and after that time the mission could just fail, which also be totally fine. If you could send them out, turn off my game, go to sleep and check back the next day. But the timer only goes down while the game is playing. It won't even tick down if the game is paused. And this is the same for everything except FOB. The timers tick down for that even when you aren't playing. This is probably because some of the completions time for them is like 8 hours. But if the FOB can do it, why can't all the timers tick down while I'm not playing? I started not pausing my game when I had other things to do. It's just dumb. Most of the dumb stuff is connected to FOB in some way, like MB coins. These are the microtransactions. You get your first FOB for free, but any after that cost MB coins. These coins are not obtainable any other way than by purchasing them. Actually, sometimes you can get 15 or 30 as a daily reward for logging on. But these are worthless, because the cheapest FOB is 1,000 MB coins. So they want me to log on every day in hopes that I might get another 15 coins. Oh boy, at this rate I get a second FOB in a year. No, they want you to pay for it. And my response to that is, fuck you, Konami. I have only seen one person with a second FOB, and all I could think is, what a dick. So I think this game is great. It's not perfect, but it's really good, and I recommend getting it. I don't think everyone will like this. If you play Ground Zeroes and got bored really quick because of the single environment, you might not enjoy the Phantom Pain, as some locations are reused a couple of times for side ops. There are way less boss battles in this game compared to previous games. I can only think of maybe 3, and they're definitely not as memorable as some of the older ones. When you're on Mother Base, you can call a chopper to pick you up and take you to another strut to save you driving, but this isn't an option in Afghanistan or Africa. You have to call a chopper, get taken back to the ACC screen, then choose where you want to be taken, which does take a while. Also, to get taken back to the main game area, unless I completely miss something, you have to choose your landing point through the side-up screen, and you can't just pick where you want to go. And outside of doing missions or trying to capture all the animals, there isn't much to do in the open world. The spaces in between outposts and bases don't really have anything in them. But these are small nitpicks that may be a deal breaker for you, but I'm 87 hours in with only 77% complete, and I still want to play. So as a Metal Gear fan and an avid gamer, I can easily recommend this game. Also, for fun, go on Metacritic and read the reviews that give the game a 0, they are amazing. So yeah, I have more to say about this game and my experience with it and why it fucked me up so much, but that will mean spoiling the game. So come back for part 2, which will be more of a discussion. It won't be scripted like this, definitely won't be a review. Thanks for watching though, goodbye.